And this is actually right out of the owner's manual of the tractor across the street. So we have a Case H 600 quad track. Typically, the mindset has been, if I look on the top right, we have 15W40. And that for years and years and years has been the mindset that that's what we put in every single diesel engine, period, end of conversation. Well, the rules have kind of changed, all right, because now we have options. And if I look at this chart here, in the bottom right, you can see down here I have a whole range of temperatures. And if I look up here, I have a whole range of oils. So a lot of it is going to depend upon your temperatures, your basic range of operating temperatures of your piece of equipment. So Alaska is probably going to be a hell of a lot different than Texas, all right? And Montana is going to be different than both of them, okay? So the adage of 1540 really doesn't hold true. What I would recommend telling your ag producers is, number one, get in their owner's manual, obviously. Look at this chart. 1540 does cover a wide range, but you know what? If we're starting to get a little bit cooler, you maybe want to go to a 1040. Okay? So if you're looking at a tractor that's doing hay in the winter to their cows, I might want to maybe back off on that 1540. Because what the issue is, especially with newer engines, the bearing clearances are getting very, very tight. So that's a clearance between your connecting rod bearings and the crankshaft. Or the bearings could go around my camshaft. So if I have thick oil, because it's cold, I'm not going to fully lubricate where I need to lubricate. And I'm going to have what's called eventually a catastrophic failure. And that's why we're not going to rebuild engines, we're going to replace engines, okay? The first time that I ever had, it was a 0W30. I refused to use it because it looked like freaking water. It scared me. And so I called the man, it was in a Ford pickup years ago, I called the manufacturer and he said, no, you got to use it or else you're going to avoid the warranty. I said, but it's not going to lubricate. Oh, yeah, it is. You just got to trust me on this one. Okay. So I did, but I didn't like to do it, but I did. That's going to be the same mindset with your ag producers because most of them are fixed on this 15W40. A lot of your engines that actually shipped in during the wintertime have 1030 in the engine. Okay. So now we need to talk about our oil types. We have mineral and synthetic. And my jury, to be quite honest, I'm not totally sold on synthetic. And I have the old mindset that mineral's good stuff and it's sticking around for a long time. A lot of your producers are totally against synthetic. A lot of them, they won't use anything but synthetic. Okay? Both are good, have good qualities, and both have disadvantages. Right? Synthetic's a heck of a lot more expensive. A lot more expensive. Synthetic, you can supposedly go extended oil drains, but you also need to couple that with the quality of your filters. You also need to couple that with the quality of the handling of the oil. Okay? If they're, I'm a big advocate that we have this big hole we're going to pull a plug out of to put in our new oil, right? Well, if I just pull that plug out and it's got a whole bunch of dirt around it, what's the point of using a synthetic oil? Because I've just toasted the oil. Right? So we need to clean off that stuff first, then we pull that plug out, then we pour the oil in. So that's back to the handling. That really doesn't matter if it's synthetic or mineral, it really doesn't matter. Okay? Cleanliness is really, really good. Okay? Quality of filters. Same as our air filters or fuel filters. There's some that I would buy for target practice, that's all I would buy them for. If you're dealing with warranty issues, you absolutely should be going with the OEM. It's a Caterpillar engine, we're going to use Caterpillar filters in a conversation. All right, we have an FPT engine in that Steiger over there. So we would go out to get Fleet Guard filters for that one, for example. Okay, so all back to the warranty. Okay. And I've had discussions with customers, mineral versus synthetic, and it's kind of what their mindset is what they want to do. If they're going to go with extended oil drains, we have a lot of other components that depend upon the oil. Right? A very expensive turbocharger, for example. If we go with extended oil change and we're not using good filters, well, we're going to ruin the engine, we're going to ruin the turbo, we're going to ruin a whole bunch of things, okay? Mixing oils. If you're out in the field, or your producer's out in the field and they're low, a lot of oil, they got some excessive leaks or whatever, and the only jug they have on that service truck to get them back to the shop is not what's in the engine, they got to do what they got to do. And I'd rather them do that than run low on oil and toast that engine, okay? But when we get back to the shop, we probably should be dumping all that oil and putting in new oil and new filters. The main reason is number one is your viscosity. Okay, we can see we have everything from 0W40 up to 20W50, way different viscosities, mineral versus synthetic, but different manufacturers will have different additive packages. Okay, so if I mix product A additive package with product B additive package, they may mesh together very well. Well, they might fight each other, so you're losing out all the way around. So now the stability control, the anti-foaming, the anti-shear properties, all those, they go out the back door. So now we've got issues of metal-to-metal contact, we've got foaming oil, we've got air in the oil, et cetera, okay?
Steve, what about using different brands but the same, like if you have a 1540 oil, but they're from 2 different brands, so you got AMSoil for one and then just a Chico Conoco stuff, but they're both synthetic.
Again, we'd still be back to the additive package. Yeah, now if you were to do an oil change, let's use your example, we have AMSoil in the vehicle right now, the tractor, whatever, we dump that out, we change the filters, and we put new filters on, we put the plug back in, we dump in Conoco. We're still going to have a little bit of mixing because you're never going to drain the total oil system, right? But you've basically mostly got Conoco in there now. So, but now if we use it and we're burning a little oil, you know, we got leaking valves or whatever, and we top it off with AMSoil, might work, might not work. Okay, so I just don't recommend, you know, mixing brands except if we're changing the whole thing at an oil change. Okay, does that make sense?
Yep.
Yeah. And also the same goes if I have a 1540 Conoco, well, it's getting kind of cool, so I want to use 1040 Conoco. Well, I'm just a little bit low, and also I probably don't want to add that 1040 Conoco to that 1540, because even though the same manufacturer, they're going to have 2 different additive packages.
Yeah,
all right?
Viscosities.
Yeah, yeah. Question?
Do they have to disclose, the manufacturers, what their additives are?
No, they don't. It's proprietary information.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, and trust me, I've asked. One answer has got, well, yeah, I can tell you, then I have to shoot you. So that is what I got you good. So no, that's their little secret concoction. And most know it's going to be proprietary information. Yeah.
So explaining it to farmers, we can compare it to like the inert ingredients in a pesticide label. You have your active and inert. And
oh, sure, yeah,
your
yeah,
factory
yep.
secret.
Yeah, that's the little secrets, yeah. It's just proprietary information as per manufacturer, yeah. That would also go along with the fuels. I mean, fuel has additives in it, coolant has additives in it, all that sort of stuff, so all proprietary, yeah. Oil change intervals. Do you guys know how often your producers are changing their oil? They were probably working on like a per hour basis, I would imagine.
When to get a down day.
That works too, I guess.
When they're done farming.
When they're done farming. That works too.
Or right before they start.
Yeah.
Right before they start.
Yeah. You know, and again, let's go back to our owner's manual. What does our owner's manual tell us? You know, especially looking at a warranty issue. And one thing, you know, just a sidebar note, what your ag producers should be doing if it's under warranty is documenting every single thing they do to that vehicle or piece of equipment. If they change oil, they put a new fan belt on, they do whatever. Document everything. And if it comes to a warranty, that is absolutely critical. Been there, done that. I've had to work with warranty issues when I was in business. And if you don't have your T's dotted and your I's crossed, you are screwed. All right? One bill cost me $1,000 out of my back pocket. And that was the one and only time I ever did that. Did an air conditioning job. I had flushed the system. I had put in my fluids used 2 gallons of flush, but I did not put in my statement of services of what I did that I had flushed the system. And they turned down the warranty. Cost me $1,000, actually $990. So documentation is critical.
Will the manufacturer take a scratch piece of paper that you just
Have in the shop.
Yeah, I mean.
Yeah, I would say transpose that to a
log.
official, a log or whatever. Maybe put on a computer database or something. Yeah.
But couldn't they just write that up when they have an issue?
Right.
They
Like go back to
could.
what the warranty says and then just write down as if you'd done that.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
they lose the rag, the blue rag that they wrote it down, and then when they need to put it in their fuel tank because they lost their rag. I mean, that's how that stuff gets lost. They have it in the shop,
Yeah.
and they might have written it down, but unless they
Log it.
log it somewhere,
Yeah.
it gets in the pile of rags, and then the kid comes in to do something, and
Yeah. But
I know I
now,
had that, but
yeah. Oh, well. Now, was your question just kind of like doing it on the fly?
A mock log, like
Yeah.
saying they did everything.
Yeah, what's
Okay.
stopping somebody from doing that?
The one thing with a log is
Besides their conscience.
true. The one thing with a log is you need to put the hours in, and all the mileage. And trust me, the warranty people are not stupid. Sometimes you think they are, but they are not. So if they see discrepancies in hours or miles, you know, they know that stuff. They've been around the block more than once. So yeah, probably people do put down these fictitious logs, but again, your conscience should get you. But to do it correctly, if you have all the hours, and they'll know what the equipment is, they know what you're doing with it. You know, if you're out farming or hauling hay or cutting crop or whatever, so they pretty much know what those hours should be. Yeah.
Then is a dealership or, I don't know, mechanic that you're paying, I mean, do they have any requirement to keep a log, or then is it always?
Oh, absolutely. Oh, yeah. 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 They're going to have serial numbers, engine hour numbers of the combine. They'll have separator numbers. They'll do a visual inspection. They'll make notes of what's wrong and what's right. Make, model, year. Oh yeah, yeah. The details are incredible. Yeah.
And Steve, there's a lot of companies that just give out like those sheets or those folders that you can keep all your maintenance records on.
Oh sure.
They're
Yeah.
readily available, right? It's
Yeah.
not like, you know,
Yeah.
you can just transpose them on to scratch paper.
Right.
Keep them in
Right.
one spot.
And so with my vehicles, I carry my little notebook with me everywhere I go and make notes. And then in the evening, if I change oil or do brakes, it's transposed on an Excel spreadsheet. I'm thinking probably most of your producers are pretty familiar with Excel. You know, it's pretty straightforward to do that. Yeah. I mean, that's a fair question. Yeah. I can see it happening, but our conscience would get the better of us. The kind of the general rule is, you know, like 100 hours, 150 hours type of thing for a diesel engine. But that's just kind of a number. Where that number came from, I have absolutely no idea. You know, it's going to depend upon the application, how hard are we using it, the quality of our oil, the quality of our oil filters, et cetera, et cetera. So I'll be getting into my manual, my owner's manual, all right? The other thing I would do, let's just jump down. Oh, it's not there.
But if you have lots of leaks, then you just don't need to change it that much. Right?
That is a true story.
You add the oil every time you come
Just
into the
top it
shop.
off.
Just top it off.
Yeah. That is a true story. Another thing I just thought of too, a really good thing to have your producers do is change the oil. If they're going to put lay up the piece of equipment over the winter time, is change the oil right before they put it into the storage. The reason for that is with used oil and with the combustion process, we develop hydrochloric acid and sulfuric acid in that oil. And if you want to ruin bearings, that's a really, really good way to do it. All right? Because that oil is going to sit between the bearing and the journal, right? Well, it's going to start etching away at those bearings, that acid. And hydrochloric acid, when I was in my chemistry class, that's some pretty nasty stuff. Well, actually, so is sulfuric acid too. Okay? So if they could they clean it all off, they do what they need to do, change the oil, run into storage, they're done, okay? Another thing with oil, and it really doesn't matter what the grade is, but typically after 45 days, with gravity, that oil is all in the bottom of the oil pan. So if there is physically a way that, and I suggest to my customers once a month, just get out and fire up that engine. Just let it idle, just enough to get up oil pressure. We're not looking for engine operating temperatures, nothing like that. Just to get the oil pressure built up and get it circulated through the cam, through the crankshaft, all that, shut her down. Okay? And just keep that oil where it needs to be. Because the worst thing you can ever do to an engine is actually fire it up. Especially when that oil is drained down, because you've got dry bearings. And that's another good way to ruin bearings and crankshafts and cams and all that good stuff. Okay, Nicole.
So how do you determine how long is long enough when you do that once a month start?
I just usually have them run about 3-4 minutes. Just to get the engine operating pressure, the oil pressure up. Just watch that gauge when it gets to pressure. Yeah, you know it's been circulated through.
Did you say 30 days or did you say 45?
I have them start 30 days, but it's about after 45 days, pretty much when all your oil's drained down to the oil pan. Yeah. So I just had them pick a day, 2nd of every month. Get out there and fire it up. Well, it's cold out there. Well, okay, I can come replace your engine. That's fine. That usually settles that discussion. Handling and storage of oil, same as fuel. Cleanliness is absolutely critical. Absolutely critical. Okay? So let's make sure that this is nice and clean. With our storage, try and keep it out of the heat of the sun. If you are going to be changing oil or working on, like we say we've got a tractor we're feeding hay to, we want to change oil in December, January. Be a good idea to kind of keep that oil into a warm shop. It's not a good idea to dump cold oil into a warm engine. All right, get it at least a room temperature. Okay. Some of us, and we were just talking here before, we might be looking at bulk storage. All right, so maybe we're storing in a 250-gallon tote or a 55-gallon barrel, and we're pumping out of those barrels and putting into our engine. So we have this little container with this little spout on it, and we pump the oil in there, and then we look in there, and there's a whole bunch of crap floating on top of the oil. Well, apparently we didn't clean out a little container out, did we? So make sure that they clean that stuff out before they actually put the oil in to put in the engine. All right? I've seen it happen more than once. And they just look at it, oh, it'll be fine, and they dump it in there. Well, actually, no, it's not fine at all. Okay? So cleanliness is super important. Used oil is a proven carcinogen. All right? And that is not good. So this is where rubber, nitrile, latex gloves come in handy. Be aware that some people are allergic to latex, like it will kill them. They're very, very allergic. Okay? So in my shop, I pretty much banned latex gloves. We either had rubber or we had nitrile in the conversation, okay? You can go down to HO, you can go down to CarQuest, you can pick up a box of 100 for 10 bucks, all right? They're small, large, medium, whatever, okay? Get the right size, use them. And I would highly encourage you to tell your producers to use them, okay? In my mind, there's no excuse not to use the darn things. There really isn't. When you're looking at oil, fuel, any type of liquids, coolants, get those damn gloves on there, okay? Now, let's talk about oil sampling. So this kind of relates back to how often should we change the oil. You guys have you heard of the term oil sampling before? Okay, most of us have. So oil sampling is where you, as the name would suggest, we are going to take a sample of the oil, and this could be engine oil, it could be transmission oil, it could be the oil in the rear ends, whatever. And they're going to send it to a lab, and the lab, within 48 hours, is going to check that oil, and it's going to look for what we call wear metals. Okay? So the very absolute first time that we take a sample from an engine is really not going to tell us anything. What it's going to tell us is basically where we're starting from. That would be a baseline. Every successive oil sample after that will be compared with the baseline, and they're looking for trends. So for example, if we send in sample after sample after sample, we kind of note that maybe chrome is starting to get elevated. Well, that might indicate to me that maybe my rings are starting to get worn. Or maybe we see sodium starting to go up. Well, that would indicate to me that, ooh, I got dirt in there somewhere. Might be the oil, it could be the air system. I know I got dirt. I better damn well do something about it. Okay? So we're looking for those trends. I went on last night, well, hopefully this is going to link up for us. We're going to find out here right quick. And this is actually from John Deere. Really? We'll go later. Screw 'em. Are you kidding me? There we go. Good Lord. Popeye's driving me nuts. So this is what John Deere calls their fluid analysis program. Caterpillar calls it an SOS. All right, specific oil sampling. All right, so there's different companies have different, and plus there's a whole bunch of independents out there as well. A lot of my customers actually have sent them to a lab down in Billings, Montana. Okay, there's a test lab down there. So John Deere, huge company, obviously is a pretty damn big advocate of sampling these fluids. And I know for sure Caterpillar is. You have a Caterpillar piece of equipment, they're pretty much on the verge of requiring that oil samples be taken. I think that John Deere does, I think I read somewhere, I can't see it in there, that they have maintenance agreements. You go to any mine, any fleet, typically you're going to have a maintenance agreement. I pretty much guarantee you this will be part of any maintenance agreement, all right, to get that stuff sampled. You're going to sample it, or your producers will take the sample themselves. I mean, they don't have to get a technician out to do this. This is not rocket science. Make sure it's clean. You know, they pull the plug, make sure it's clean, pull the plug out, take a sample when they're draining, and they have to immediately, next time they can, get that mailed off to the lab, because there needs to be a specific turnaround time, and typically we're looking at about 48 hours. If that turnaround time is longer than 48 hours, then I would be questioning the lab. Why is it taking so gosh darn long? Okay? Most labs, if not all, if they see, they'll note a trend, but if there's a spike in one particular wear metal, you will be getting a phone call saying, hey, we got a spike here, you might want to look at that, or hey, we got a spike, you better shut that engine down right here, right now. All right? I know Caterpillar is extremely good about that. I mean, they're all over the world. So if they have a sample come in that's coming from Kazakhstan, for example, I know they got a mine in Kazakhstan that they work at, and they airship it in 48 hours. If they want that machine shut down, actually the way Caterpillar is now, they can actually shut that down from Peoria, Illinois. The engine gets shut down just the way it is. All right, so it's pretty serious when you're dealing with some big money. Okay, so this is John Deere's fluid analysis program, and this is, yes ma'am.
I don't know if this matters at all, but is there
Everything matters.
a certain point, like if you're draining the oil, that you need to take the sample from? Or you're not sending all of it? You're just
No. Actually, what you're doing is on this very bottom here. See these little jugs down here? That's the little jugs right down the bottom there.
So I think she's asking, do you take it at the beginning
At
of
the
the
beginning?
day?
I would usually, what I have been told and recommend to my customers is that your oil's at operating temperature. So you know, everything's all. If you let it sit overnight, all those metals are going to kind of go down to the bottom. So if you take the sample right at the bottom, then you're going to have weird metals like you wouldn't believe, even though it's really not a problem. Okay, so have them circulated, and I would what I told my customers, and Caterpillar actually told me this: you let some drain out, they just catch some, you know, about halfway through the drain. Okay, is what I've been told. Yeah. So yeah, good question.
Any idea how much it costs?
Most of mine back in the day was like about $10 a sample. Yeah, so it's pretty inexpensive for the cost of a, you know, $50,000, $60,000, $80,000 engine. Yeah, or a, you know, $10,000 rear end or whatever. Now noting down here, where did I see that? Yeah, right down here. Engine, hydraulic, powertrain, cooling, and fuel systems. All right, so it does just any fluid you want to send in, it'll do it. Okay. You know, a rear end on a semi truck. I'm not sure what a new one is, but I know a good used one, you're looking at $7,000. You know, $10 for an oil sample? Well, duh. You know, Nicole?
I guess going back to where you send in your oil sample, do you recommend sticking with that manufacturing company or?
If they offer the
That's
service.
pretty good.
Yeah, if they offer the service, absolutely. If I had a John Deere tractor, John Deere combine, that's who I'd be sending it to. Yeah, I wouldn't hesitate. Yeah. Caterpillar, I'd send it to T&E in Great Falls or in Billings.
Yeah, I've done that too.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, so yeah, I would recommend the manufacturer.
Manufacturer
Yep.
stuff,
Yep.
okay.
Yep. Tomorrow I'm going to have ready for you a bunch of resources, and this will be one of the websites that you can look at. There's lots and lots of good websites. I mean, the internet is a phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal resource. It really is. Both for you folks, but also for your producers. And most of them, none of us really have any idea of what's out on the internet until you start digging. It's like, holy crapolas. You know, it's amazing. There's a lot of crap out there too, obviously, but there's a lot of good stuff, all right? And this is John Deere's website. I mean, there's no passwords, nothing for this. This is you guys right here, okay? If you look along the top, where I found this was under services and support, okay? So there's all kinds of emissions information, engine information, product safety, service plans. I think this is under product support and safety training right here, okay? So a good website. Oh, okay, we're going to go to another presentation here real quick. We're just going to kind of zip through this one, as I've talked about a lot of the stuff already. And this was this one here.